students, and faculty, and administration. And I think Jody's going to help us with the prayers.
Yes.
Dr. Ward, thank you, Dr. Ward.
Let's stand. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this time. Thank you so much for this day, Lord. I just pray, Lord, that the conversations that are had and the decisions that are made, Lord, would be glorifying, Lord, unto you. We thank you and we praise you for all things. As through Christ we come to you. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as written.
So moved.
Second? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Fantastic. I'll try to talk slowly so we can give Ms. Gaynor a chance to get settled. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our May board meeting. As we get started, I just want to take a moment to say thank you to the board. We are wrapping up our very first, my very first school year, and have had the opportunity to experience a fantastic year. And there are so many things for us to be excited about as we look forward. We have put together some significant efforts in building a strong collaborative community here in Greene. Had the opportunity earlier this week, Ms. Gaynor and I were both at the Wellness Summit. And one of the commitments at the Wellness Summit was to this idea of community collaboration across all of our different partners. And that continues to be a part of the things that we're taking lead on as a school district, and being a part of that. Tonight, we'll have an opportunity to invest in that when we think about our Archway partnership that we'll talk about in a few minutes, as well as our Portrait of a Graduate, which is a symbol of the unified spirit that we have of all of our schools to figure out exactly the right things for our kids and make sure that we're allocating resources appropriately. So very excited about that. Tomorrow evening, we anticipate 95 graduates at the Greene County High School graduation. Last Friday, Lake Oconee Academy graduated 67 students. And so we have so many other celebrations going on. Maybe you've had opportunity to attend moving up ceremonies for our 5th graders or our 8th grade award assemblies, or to our principals who are out here looking a little ragged right now. They have been handing out awards and shaking hands for what probably feels like the last 195 hours. So we appreciate the work that they've been doing as well, because there's a lot to celebrate as we come to the end of the year. I do want to just share that we are watching the weather very closely for tomorrow evening. Mr. Ellenberg and I are trying to decide if we are Benton men, because it's a 50-50 chance that it's going to be hailing, thunderstorming, and flooding, or bright and sunny. So we're keeping an eye on that. But just excited for what has been a wonderful year, and really excited about the future that we have as we move forward after tonight. So the only other thing I'll share with the board before we get to the agenda is I want to invite you to our annual end of the year breakfast, which will be at Greene County High School next Wednesday morning. One of the things that we're doing that's a little bit different is we will be announcing candidates for the Teacher of the Year and the Support Personnel of the Year for each of the schools, who will then have time to compete for the district-wide version of that. Normally we do that in the fall, but we moved it up to the spring as we go forward. So just invite you to the annual breakfast next Wednesday as we go forward.
What time is that? At 8?
Yes, starts at 8 o'clock, yes. And we promise we'll be done by lunchtime.
Serve lunch too?
If we go that long, we'll serve lunch, and I don't think we're going to go that long. The last, yes.
The awards banquet did it tonight.
Yes, we did. The awards banquet was phenomenal.
Great job, y'all.
I think we gave away almost $500,000 in scholarship money to the graduates of Greene County High School, which is amazing. When you think about that is a testament to our community. We have continued to give. At $500,000, that's not even taking into account any grants, any Hope Scholarship money that our kids would have earned as well. That's just from the hearts and pockets of the folks here in Greene County. So very excited about that. I remind you of our points of pride that are rotating, and then we'll go ahead and move to our first agenda item, information item. One of the things we've been priding ourselves on is transparency and also excellence in financial reporting. And so Jefferson Fuller from the Georgia Department of Audits and Accounts is here to present us with the certificate for excellence in financial reporting to our finance department. So, Mr. Fuller.
Good evening to the members of the Board of Education, Dr. Shmuel, the staff, and community members. Tonight, it is my privilege to recognize an outstanding accomplishment by the finance team here at Greene County Board of Education. The Department of Audits and Accounts are proud to announce that the district has received the Certificate of Excellence for Financial Reporting. The criterion for the certificate is as follows. First, there's timeliness. The financial statements, including the management's discussion and analysis, the required note disclosures, and supplementary information and all key supporting evidence were available to auditors by November 15th. Accurate information was submitted in compliance with the Transparency in Government Act by the following deadlines. The submission of salary and travel information by August the 16th. Audit history and payment files was due by October 15th. Another criteria is the quality of financial statements. The financial statements, the MD&A, and the required supplementary information, as well as the notes that were provided for audit, required only minimal adjustments or no adjustments during the audit. The third criteria is quality of audit documentation. Full supporting documentation to substantiate financial statements was provided in a timely manner. Evidence was easy to locate and was easy to use for the audit. Key staff. Key staff was readily available and cooperative during the audit and did not contribute to any delays in finalizing the audit. And then lastly, a clear audit opinion. Recipients of the certificate receive an unmodified opinion. This is the highest opinion one can receive for an audit. I would like to recognize Ms. Connie Wilkes, the CFO, and her outstanding staff during this time. Their professionalism, expertise, and tireless effort made this achievement possible. The audit process also required cooperation from many departments and individuals throughout the district. I would also like to extend appreciation to everyone involved in this year's financial audit. We couldn't have done it without the cooperation and help of everyone. So please join me in congratulating Ms. Connie Wilkes and the entire finance staff for this well-deserved recognition. Thank you.
Yes, let's get a picture.
You want to come down, Dr. Stone?
There you go. Really appreciate the work of our finance department to make sure things are transparent, clear, and done to the highest level possible. Moving on, our next agenda item for informational purposes for the board, Georgia House Bill 268 requires the school district to put in place a number of different reporting systems and awareness and prevention training programs around the ideas of youth violence prevention and also bullying prevention. And so we have been deeply investigating an opportunity to find a way to make sure that we have the 24/7 reporting opportunity that's required by the law. And Ms. McClure is going to share just a little bit more information about Safety Hook Promise. We're excited about it because it is a zero-cost solution, but not necessarily because it's a zero-cost solution. It is high quality and the industry leader in addition to being zero cost. So the bonus is that it doesn't cost us anything to do it. but we would have probably selected it anyway, regardless of that. This is what.
Good evening, Chairman, Superintendent, and members of the board. Tonight, I'll take a few minutes to walk through the requirements of Georgia House Bill 268.
Just talk a little bit louder.
See you.
Is it on? 268, also known as Ricky and Alyssa's Law, and to explain how we're preparing to meet those requirements through our partnership with Sandy Hook Promise. So this law was signed by Governor Kemp in April of 2025, and it represents a significant step forward in school safety across the state of Georgia. It requires all school districts to have key safety measures in place by the start of the upcoming school year, with a critical first deadline of July 1st this summer. One of the primary requirements of the law is that every school district must implement a district-wide anonymous reporting system. The law is very specific about what the system must include. It must be accessible to anyone so that students, staff, parents, or community members can report concerns anonymously, and must be available in various ways, including a mobile app and other reporting platforms. It must also be staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, by trained crisis professionals who can receive, assess, and respond to reports in real time. In addition, the system must be able to immediately notify school teams and coordinate with local law enforcement and emergency responders when necessary. Beyond the reporting system, the law also requires that beginning in the upcoming school year, districts provide annual training for students in grades 6 through 12 on suicide awareness and prevention, as well as youth violence prevention. It also requires the establishment of student-led clubs focusing on promoting awareness, inclusion, and school safety. As we looked at how to meet all of these requirements in a cohesive and effective way, we began working with Sandy Hook Promise, which is a nationally recognized nonprofit organization focused on prevention and school safety. One of the reasons we were drawn to this partnership is that their model is comprehensive. It addresses every single one of these requirements in a single aligned system, rather than requiring us to piece together multiple separate solutions. Sandy Hook Promise is also a well-established partner throughout the state. Their programs are currently being used in more than 1,300 schools across Georgia, which means districts very similar to ours are already using the system successfully. So that statewide presence gave us confidence that what we are implementing is both proven and scalable. So the foundation of this work is the Say Something Anonymous Reporting System, or the ARS. This is the platform that fulfills the reporting system requirement under the law. Through this system, anyone can submit a tip anonymously using a mobile app, a website, or a dedicated hotline. What makes this system especially strong is not just the reporting itself, but what happens after a report is submitted. Every tip is received by a nationally accredited crisis center, staffed by trained counselors. These professionals review the information, assess the level of urgency, and determine the appropriate next steps. If a report involves an immediate safety concern, it is escalated right away to 911 and local law enforcement. At the same time, the information is sent to our designated school and district teams so that we can respond quickly and appropriately within our schools. The system operates continuously 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with multilingual support, ensuring that help is always available whenever a concern arises. This system has been reviewed by the Georgia Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency. After assessing the system's capabilities, GMA determined that the Say Something Anonymous Reporting System does meet the requirements outlined in House Bill 268 for a compliant anonymous reporting system. In addition to the reporting system, Sandy Hook Promise also provides the programming necessary to meet the training requirements of the law through the Say Something curriculum. This training teaches students how to recognize warning signs in themselves and others, how to take those signs seriously, and how to report concerns to a trusted adult or through the anonymous reporting system. The partnership also satisfies the requirement for student-led prevention work through the creation of Save Promise clubs. These clubs give students a structured way to lead awareness efforts, support one another, and promote a positive, inclusive school culture, all under the guidance of a faculty advisor. So this will be implemented across all of our schools. That includes our elementary school, because we have elected to expand the student awareness programs to 4th and 5th grades, along with our middle school, high school, and Lake Oconee Academy. LOA will be included as a part of our district implementation, while still maintaining its own ability to manage and respond to its students and alerts as needed. So as Dr. Schmuel mentioned, regarding cost, Sandy Hook Promise is able to provide these programs, including the anonymous reporting system, at no cost because they are completely funded through donors. And that allows districts like ours to implement a comprehensive safety system without adding financial burden. So attached to the agenda, you'll see that we have received a formal no-cost quote which outlines the full value of the services being provided, including system setup, crisis center support, software tools, and training resources. The total value of those services is listed at $37,836, but that amount is fully offset by the discount, bringing the total cost to zero. So this is not a request for funding or a budget commitment. Instead, it's a way to document the scope and value of the services. As we think about implementation, the process would include finalizing the agreement, completing onboarding with Sandy Hook Promise, training our staff and our students, and rolling out awareness materials so students and families understand how to use the system before it goes live. So while this ensures that we are in compliance with state law and strengthens how to support our students, the system gives us the ability to identify concerns early, intervene sooner, and connect students with the help they need before situations escalate. And it strengthens the coordination between our schools, our community, and law enforcement. So this partnership allows us to meet every requirement of House Bill 268, implement a system that has already been validated at the state level, and extend those protections to every school in our district and do so at no cost.
Are there any questions?
How does this get distributed to the public? I mean, do we have a plan already in place? Is this gonna be a statewide plan, or we have to develop that stuff?
We are going to have a local awareness plan, and it's going to be part of our back to school communications, and everything's going to be in place by July 1st.
Do we know how it's connected to emergency services? I mean, if you have an you may not know this, but if there's like an anonymous tip line with,
Yes.
and obviously they're not calling 911 first.
They're
I mean, how is,
So if it happens, after hours, if they determine that the threat is requiring 911 response, they'll contact 911 first and also contact us simultaneously, so that there can be a law enforcement response, or if there needs to be other first responders, they can be in motion before we have to make a determination. So, they have a threat matrix that they've, shared that kind of articulates when they would trigger that. The nice part about that is it also allows us that 24-hour reporting, because 911 doesn't go to sleep, like some of us on staff do. So they'll be able to have some response as well, and make sure that we are prepared should we need to. And then we would get alerts as well in the middle of the night or whatever that may be, or after hours, to allow us to be responsive. So this is somewhat, it is comprehensive. This is suicide. This is any violence. If someone believes a student is going to bring a gun to school the next day, anything like that. It would be the space where we would want people to have access to that tip line, as well as if they feel like they're being bullied at school, if they have a feeling of being unsafe at school, we would also provide that. So it is a full suite from the most severe to, well, all of them are severe, but to mass casualty considerations to the individual student that needs someone to say, yes, I'm here for you. It offers a space for that to happen 24/7. But then it refers it to us so that we can continue that connection with those students as we go forward. So we can make sure that they continue to get help from the other mental health services, for example, that we have in place in the district. So it's a good partnership that balances both of those things for us.
are the donors that you mentioned donors to Sandy Hook Promise?
To Sandy Hook Promise.
That's separate. So are there any districts that pay for this?
This is provided at no cost to Georgia State.
To all of them?
Yes.
Yeah, are there any additional things we can access if we pay for additional services, or is this it?
This is the whole program, to my understanding. There's not a fee to it. And part of that onboarding will be connecting their crisis center to our local E911. And with every tip that comes in, they make a decision about whether it's called, their language they use is a life safety tip or a non-life safety tip. And they said they always err on the side of caution. So that life safety tip would trigger their first call would be to our 911. So that's the support, and the language in the law talks about the support of coordination with local law enforcement, and then to us as well for those after hours.
So there's no need for the board to take action. It's an MOU that I signed, but we felt like it was important to, number one, make you aware of it, but also to make the public aware that we are making sure that we're in compliance with the law, but it's also good to do even without the law.
I think it also be important to say for the public that there are measures and there's a team permitted within the school system to help support this, D10 and some of the other stuff that's already been developed. So this has been ongoing internally. So there's actually people internally that's trained, you got some training to help with this.
Yeah, we already have pretty significant and robust systems in place, and this augments it and adds to it. And even to the point of the board's investment in additional counselors for next year, it's just one of the ways that we're continuing to expand access to mental health services and also other counseling services that are adding to the team that we have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next agenda item is our monthly financial reports of our phenomenal, amazing finance department, as you just heard. Has been doing a great job. So Ms. Wilkes is going to share our update and then also our beginning tentative budget for FY27, and remind you of our hearing dates and how we're moving forward with that and give you an update on that. Before she gets started, just for the community to be aware, we are working diligently to have a budget passed by the June 30 deadline, which is significantly more aggressive than what has happened in the last 7 years in the county. So I appreciate the board's willingness to both pay attention to the estimates that we have to make as we're waiting for finalized information from the tax assessor and other folks. But we're trying to do our due diligence to give you the best option that we know in this moment.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Chairman, Superintendent, board members. Tonight I'll be presenting the general fund through the month of April. We've collected 92.80% of our budgeted revenues, which is slightly more than this time last year at 92.46. We have spent 77.50% of our budget expenses, which is roughly 3% higher than the prior year. That's mainly due to the retention bonuses that we paid out in April, with a few specific line items are over budget, but we have identified savings in other areas that will absorb some of these overages. Overall, our revenues exceed expenditures by $6 million. Our current ending fund balance is $22.7 million compared to the prior month's ending balance of $26.1 million. Did I have any questions?
And that reduction is because of,
Sir,
reduction is because of
You said the projection.
reduction.
The reduction of the fund balance from month to month.
It's because we're outspending our revenues right now coming in.
Okay.
I do have my hearing aids in back and
Okay. I'll translate for both of you.
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so, there are no further questions?
Is our projection, is the projection you made last month still where you feel like we'll be after we pay our salaries and accruals?
Yes,
You still feel like that we're pretty close to it?
yes, sir.
All right. No other questions? We'll move to our tentative budget. Again, I just want to reiterate before Connie starts, we're putting this out on May 21st. We'll have more updated numbers as we get to the June meeting. We'll have additional hearings as well, but we wanted the community to know what our current thinking is.
Okay, so tonight I'll be presenting our current tentative budget for fiscal year 27. I know some of these slides y'all have seen previously that Dr. Sewell went over with you. But as my team behind me and Dr. Sewell can attest to, the budget process has kind of been a roller coaster with legislative updates going on every day. You know, one day we don't know if we're going to get in property taxes, if they're going to just do away with them altogether, you know, or what's going to happen. So it's been quite the ride. I know every time I walk in the room, I know Dr. Sewell says, "Have y'all found him any more money?" So not yet. The budget, I just want everyone to know that this budget is not yet final, as we're still waiting on our allotment sheets from the state related to our QBE funding that we use to calculate the per pupil amount for the charter school. We've received the overall amount that we will be funded, but the allotment sheets are needed to obtain the FTE numbers to determine the amount the charter school will be paid. Also, we still have some decisions to be made related to budget expenses as we continue to evaluate which items are financially feasible and which ones may need to be delayed. You want to go Okay, you're there. Okay, we will advertise the budget in the local newspaper, and on our website on June the 4th. Our first public hearing is scheduled for June the 11th at 6 p.m. and on June the 18th at 5 p.m. prior to our regular scheduled board meeting. At the board meeting on June the 18th, the board will vote on the approval of the budget. When the board approves the budget, they will not be approving the millage rate and will not have, because we will not have the final numbers usually till late July, 1st of August. Because normally we've approved the budget in August when we would do both at the same time. So just know when we do approve the budget in June, we will not approve the millage rate. So if something happens, the millage rate changes or whatever, or our expenditures change, we have to make adjustments because of the millage rate change, then we'd have to go back and amend our budget at that point sometime in August. The proofs of the 2026 notice of assessments have been approved and the notices are scheduled to go out tomorrow on May 22nd. The deadline for taxpayers to file an appeal will be July 6, 2026, and it usually takes several weeks for the tax assessor's office to review all of the appeals, so usually that's why we don't end up doing an approval of our final millage rate till sometime in late July, 1st of August, along with the county. If hearings are required, that will take place in August, and the board will approve the millage rate at the August board meeting, and 3 hearings are required if we don't adopt the rollback rate. Okay, and for you, this is our 2027 projected revenues. Just as a reminder, general fund is our general operational activities. The special revenue funds includes all of our federal grants, which includes school nutrition, pre-K, and ROTC. These are funds are restrictive in nature. Our capital projects is related to capital outlay activity, and debt service is related to our debt activity. I'm going to focus mainly on the general fund for this presentation, since this is the only fund that is impacted by the termination of the millage rate. As you can see, ad valorem taxes are our largest revenue source, and they are calculated based on our net tax digest and the millage rate. The $39 million reported is based on the latest net tax digest from the tax assessor's office and our current millage rate of 9.847. Property taxes are highly volatile because they respond to shifting real estate values, millage rates, and evolving legislation. All other revenues are estimated on either allocated amounts from the state, like our state grants, or based closely on current year collections and adjusted for any economic conditions that would significantly increase or decrease these collections. Okay, the next slide. As you can see, 73.25% of our funding comes from ad valorem taxes. Because of our increasing net tax digest, the burden of educating our students in Greene County continues to fall increasingly more on our taxpayers. As our tax digest grows, the more they deduct from our QBE, state funding earnings. So the state's pretty much giving the funding to those school districts with less wealth. You go to the next one. The biggest changes in our revenues related to last year we had $2 million in the budget for a one-time transfer of funds back to the general fund from the capital projects that we had transferred over to help cover the cost of the new elementary school. $350,000 less in interest income because of the reduction of the interest rate earned on our local bank accounts. We do have a $4.6 million increase in our ad valorem taxes due to the net increase in our tax digest. This overall change in revenues is $2.1 million increase in revenues. Our overall current estimated expenditures increased by $3.9 million. Expenses increases exceed increase in revenue by $1.7 million. When you add that to the prior year shortfalls, that gives us a total of a 2.7 million shortfall for fiscal year 2027. Our estimated general fund expenditures for fiscal year 27 are $57 million. Salaries make up 32.67%. LOA per pupil allotment makes up 34.55%. Benefits is 19.54%, and all other non-personnel is 9.28%. This is, I think you need to go back one, go forward, I'm sorry, Clay. One more. One more. Okay. This is a listing of the major changes to our expenditures from the previous year. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, that it's, we have to determine if it's feasible at this time or something we can delay doing. While some of these costs are mandatory, others are we're trying to attract and maintain high quality staff and investing in instructional materials or services to help our students' growth to be successful one day, regardless of what pathways they take after graduating. So some of the mandatory changes, I'm not sit here and read everything to y'all, but some of the mandatory ones are our step increases. The TRS rate increased from 21.91 to 22.32. Health insurance increased from $1,885 to $1,935 per month for all certified and non-certified employees. The LOA per pupil allotment, and again, this number is projected since I don't have all the QB allotment sheets yet. We also have to have a literacy coach this year. They've only provided us funding right now of $54,000, and this was previously funded 100% in title funds.
Can I pause you for just a second on that one?
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify, you may be aware of the law that passed that granted a literacy coach to every elementary school in the state of Georgia. The fully funding version of that is $54,000. For some clarity on what that means, our starting salary in our school district is about $47,000. Literacy coaches are required to have somewhere around 10 years of experience, so they're not even covering the basic salary with what they've offered for us. For us in particular, as Connie just mentioned, we were able to have our literacy coach funded by Title I money completely because they are offering it to us. We're no longer able to use federal funds for it. And so instead of being an additional staff member that helps us, it's a $140,000 hit to our budget.
Can't add it from the title budget to this.
They have indicated that you cannot split fund it because it is mandated by law. So title funds are meant to supplement, not supplant. And so because it's a required expenditure, you can't use the federal dollars for that. Sounded good.
It sure did. And it's technically $108,000, but they said that you have to have 200 FTE counts at each of the elementary schools to earn the 100%. So right now they've only got us funded at 50% for the LOA elementary school and our and 50% for us. But it seems like we should be getting 2 literacy coach since we have, over 200 FTEs at both school systems. I have a call into the state, so I'm kind of waiting, and maybe on the allotment sheet things will change, because again, Dr. Small knows one day you're getting funded, the next day you're not, and we're good. And,
originally, it didn't indicate that LOA was going to get one because, or we weren't. They only gave us one in the original email, and we said, hang on a minute, we have 2 elementary schools. So we're in continued discussions with them about that. Sorry to interrupt, I just wanted to add clarity about that.
no, you're fine. And we're also required to add a computer science position. You want to go to the next slide? Okay. So overall, our current year budgeted expenditures are $57 million. Our prior year budgeted expenses were $53 million. This is a difference of $3.9 million. And you catch the next one. Overall, our current year revenues as budgeted are $54.2 million. Our current year expenses are $57 million. Expenses are greater than revenues by $2.7 million. Our reserves will be used to cover the shortfall, leaving a balance of $13.2 million. The fund balance percentages to expenditures is 23.22, which is less than the 25% cap set by the state. When I used to be auditor, we used to have state law procedures, and we would go in and look to make sure, it used to be a 15% cap, and we would always go around and audit, but they stopped that, especially since all the school districts went to charter systems, and now we have waivers in place. So I don't know if somebody, if we do end up, having a fund balance over 25%, I don't know if somebody from the state will come in and slap our hand or not. So my understanding from what I've been told by the Department of Education is I'm good since we have the waiver. The next slide. This is a copy of our PT 32. This shows our 2025 tax digest on the left side. On the right side, you'll see our 2026 digest, and you'll see the net digest line of $4.2 million. This is what we use to calculate our property tax collections for the year. You'll see the rollback rate on there is 9.076, and once we set the millage rate for the current year, they will get, the tax assessor would go in there and put that in that bottom piece, and then it would show the percentage of our tax increase. The next slide. This is our fiscal year 26 collections. This calculation is a little bit less. My calculation is 35.135, and again, this is sometimes they do some changes were made after we approved our millage rates. So, and this is them still working on the appeals. So you can see it was kind of immaterial. The amount ended up being 35.127, and I budgeted 35.135, and we've already collected over our 35.135 that I had budgeted for the current year. But I just kind of wanted to show you, even though it changed after we approved the millage rate, we were still kind of in line with the final numbers. You can go to the next one. This is based on what I have budgeted for current year property taxes. I've taken the 26 net tax digest, divided it by 1,000. We're taxed on every $1,000 of home value, multiplied it times our current millage rate of 9.847, and then did a collection percentage of 96% as the 2.5 is the tax commissioner's fees, and then we do about a 1.5% for any delinquent taxes. If you go to the next slide. This is if we project something and we decide to increase the millage rate to 10, our collections would be $40.3 million. If you go to the next slide. And this, if we wanted to do a balanced budget and have no effect on our reserves, we would have to do it increase to 10.45.
Can you go back to slide 4, please?
We go to the next one.
Where does that leave our bottom line? Where does the 10 leave our bottom line? Where does the 10, millage rate of 10, leave our,
It would give us about, go back up, thank you. We're at 39.7. It would give us, $400,000 or $500,000 more. So, if we wanted to go somewhere around 10, and maybe some of the expenditures that we plan, maybe we scale back on some of those, or we delay doing some of those. items, so, you know, maybe we could get closer to maybe an ending reserve of like 14 million or so. Where kinda I would feel a little bit better about, because we gotta consider next year, because we gotta have enough reserves to get us through again. July, August, and September, and it's around October before we really start getting in any property tax collections and not having to go out and do a tan and borrow money to get us, by. And then you also gotta sort of back, come next year, you're not gonna have any reserves to dip into, you're gonna have to, either do a millage rate increase or, be able to cut some expenditures somewhere. This is just an example. I didn't include any state exemptions or anything in there, so I don't want anybody to be like, well, that didn't include this, or we're not gonna get our $2,500 state exemptions or whatever. I just did a standard basic example for you guys. Assuming a fair market value of $450,000, home taxed at 40% is $180,000. And this would just kind of show you what the tax bill would look like at the different millage rates at 9.847 or 10 or 10.45. You'd be paying about $27 more. If we raise the rate to 10, and then it'd be about $108 more on a 10.5 millage rate.
All right, very good. More questions?
And I know, again, we all, I'd like for y'all to come in and us to talk about things, so I'm always at the office if y'all wanna come by. So I know we've got some big decisions to make before we start advertising in the paper.
Did you just say we probably are gonna need to hold off on some of our big projects?
It's either that or we, do some type of increase.
If you'll go back a few slides,
Yeah.
or go forward a few slides, to the major expenses slide.
It'll be a listing of expenditures. I think it says major expenditures.
Slide number 8, I think. Other direction. Yeah, keep going back. Keep going. There you go, right there. So, as we think about what our options are, we can increase our revenue, that's where the millage rate comes into play, or we can decrease some of our expenses. About $2.1 million of the expenses are ones that have already been approved by the board and or are required by the state because of our step increases, health insurance increases. So that leaves us with somewhere around $1.8 million of decision making that we can consider. So things like adjusting the salary schedule for our teachers, moving from 21 to 25, which in our whole board training, remember we shared the state of Greene County schools and how we compare to other districts, and that we are lagging behind other districts in our state salary schedule and what we add as local supplements to that. We do have some discretion around the special ed position. That's one that we could add. That is currently a vacant position, so we can make some decisions around that. But things like the option of considering a health insurance provided to all employees at the lowest cost, that's a choice we could not include. So what we wanted is for the board to have all of the information and be able to make some determinations about what decisions we want to make as we go forward. But these are the major considerations. We could make some other choices around some other savings as well. You could direct us to go back and see are there other places that we could reduce that are not faculty or staff. However, we do feel like we've worked really hard to bring a budget that has very little fluff whatsoever in it, particularly on the non-personnel side. We have made some reductions in staffing this year from the previous year, and some of those are offset. The only other thing I'll lift up just while this slide is up here, when you see the different positions, note that the dollar amount attached to those positions is the total cost of that to the district. It's not the salary for that position. So the director, Mr. Ellenberg, the director of facility safety and community engagement is not earning $208,000 as a salary, although he would appreciate that. That is inclusive of all the benefits, including health insurance, TRS, et cetera, that the board is responsible for. So this reflects our total investment. And I think that's important to know. A teacher doesn't cost what the starting salary schedule says. They cost the salary plus benefits, which is what we need to do for our investing in our staff. So, any other questions?
Historically, I know there was a $5 million gift back that we were responsible for. Is that still effective? We're a wealthy county, we're actually redistributing money back.
That is correct, because every time, as our tax digest goes up, the more and more they deduct from our QBE money, our state
Do
fund.
we have a formula to figure out what that actually, what we lose, what we're not getting back, we're losing that actually?
I know it's super complicated, I know, because all the school districts usually call the state to get that funding or whatever. They cap it at 20% of total state, QBE funding for the entire state, so you'd have to know everybody's QBE funding, so usually they provide that to us, but
We'll have that
again,
number when we get the allotment sheet to be able to give you exactly what it is. If you'll go back a couple more slides to the pie chart around revenues, a couple more back to the revenues one. The other thing that I just want to share about that is what unique along with the 5 mil share that you just discussed. The 73% of our revenue coming from local funds is very different than what most districts look like. Most districts are closer to about 56 or 60%, somewhere in that range of local funds. And so if we were to operate our school system just on state funding, like some of our neighboring counties have to do, we would be trying to provide the same services at about $10 million instead of what we're able to. So we are in a fortunate position, but we still have difficult choices to make. If there are no other questions, all right, thank you, Connie.
thank y'all.
There are no public comments, and so we'll move on to item F. The recommendation is to approve the consent agenda as printed. One thing I do want to draw your attention to on the consent agenda is in the Human Resources report. You will see a document that's called the GCSS Administrator Salary Ranges. Go ahead and open that. Just as a point of information to the board, one of the things that Dr. Rhodes and her team, as she's taken over Human Resources and working with the Finance Department, has done is some really challenging work to make sure that we have consistent supplements across all the different job duties and categories. And so doing significant research at what is competitive with RISA and other districts that are competitive with us. We've clarified what our supplements are for the different job titles and responsibilities that you see listed here. Prior to her really doing that work, there was not a clear local salary schedule, for example, for those classified directors. We have now established that, and the different supplements were kind of based on when people came into the job and what happened when they came in, depending on what year they were here. We've tried to standardize that so that folks can know exactly what their salary is going to be based on their years of service, the training qualifications, and the supplements that we've identified here. So this is a really important step in ensuring that we have transparency in what our salaries are, but also that we have consistency and equity across all the different job titles. So there's no need for the board to take action on this other than acknowledging it in the consent agenda. But this is how we're calculating the salaries, and wanted to make sure that this was brought to your attention and also to the community. So with that being added, it would be my recommendation to approve the consent agenda as printed.
Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed.
Second? Second it. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously.
All right, we will now move to our action agenda. Our first action agenda is approval of the portrait of a graduate. During our whole board training, we walked through the presentation of the portrait of the graduate, and it is here for the community to see. We will be doing a number of presentations around this, introducing it to the community. after we take action this evening. Did have the opportunity to share at the wellness retreat, or wellness summit rather, earlier this week, the anticipation of the portrait of the graduate being approved. And it was warmly received in the room and in the community as we move forward. I don't know, Ms. Gaynor, if you had any words in the background that you heard, but there were lots of nodding heads and lots of agreement. What I'll lift up is, as you already know, the portrait of the graduate was inspired and arose from a number of community meetings and community efforts that we have, pulling together folks on site in all of our schools at Lake County Academy, out in a number of our churches, as well as with virtual meetings, and talked to nearly 1,000 folks who helped us to come up with what our portrait would be. We are excited about the opportunity for this to be a central component of how we design school, how we make investment decisions, and more importantly, how we make sure that kids have joyful, meaningful, and rigorous learning experiences every day in every class. There is a lot of work to be done once we adopt this evening to make it more robust, to add to it things like our proficiency scales for each one of those competencies that are grade level appropriate. That work has already begun, and we will be sharing some of that as we move forward at our leadership summit that will happen next week with all of our schools. Very excited about the work that's been done here. Because we already went through it during the board session on May 8th, I don't feel like we need to do the whole presentation again, but would be happy to do so. But we will be going on a road show to make sure that everyone who wants to have an understanding of how we got here, that we're able to do that. So I'm very excited about the opportunity to share that with the community. We do have a resolution for you to adopt, so it would be my recommendation that we adopt the resolution as it is presented.
So your recommendation is?
The recommendation is to approve the adoption of the portrait of the graduate and the resolution as presented.
Recommendation? For that nomination or recommendation?
Yes.
Okay, second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I did have, Greene did this and dug into it pretty deeply.
Yes, sir.
I just had a couple quick questions.
Please.
It looks to me like a lot of this is put towards, and a lot of attention put towards common life skills, which I'm very supportive of. I think there's a significant lack. Is this going to curtail any of the advanced academic?
No, we think it should augment some of the advanced academic. As you dig into things like, for example, being an effective communicator, it talks a lot about being able to present information in really deep ways to different audiences. That's an advanced skill that we want kids to have. You'll also see like critical thinker and problem solver is exactly the skill we would want kids to be able to walk out of an advanced algebra class with or an AP course. But right now it's up to the curriculum that's in that course and the quality of the teacher that's teaching that course. This is an attempt to say, not only are the curriculum standards important, but also these things are important. And so how can we balance those in meaningful ways? So it should actually support more advanced work and give more kids access to it as we get better at this.
And support for teachers to be able to actually implement this and follow through with it.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. As you're aware, we're going to be rewriting our strategic plan. One of the components of that is a deep focus on professional development for our teachers in implementing this. It is our intent that for the course of the 26-27 school year, it will be a learning year for our teachers. So they'll be spending the entire year paying attention to what these are. We're going to identify a competency of the month for the first 7 months so that we can socialize what those are. So imagine August is the month of Curious Learner. And so we'll be talking about that. As we're having those events and those experiences, teachers will be connecting with those proficiency scales and thinking about what projects, what activities, what assignments would align with these things. But a significant part of this is not putting the burden totally on the teacher, but shifting the burden from the teacher to make sure it happens to the student, making sure that they are demonstrating evidence of these in meaningful ways. So students will be learning how are they demonstrating evidence of this. And so the shift is to say the teachers need to create the experiences, but the kids have to be the ones who are curating the evidence that they're doing. And so that's some of the things that we'll be building that skill over the course of the first year. And then we'll begin full implementation of holding kids accountable to the portrait, starting in the 27th school year.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign, unanimous.
Thank you. Our next agenda item, we would like to continue to have an exemplary board. In order to do so, we have to do an application for the exemplary board. And one of the requirements is that you vote on applying. And so it is our recommendation that the Greene County Board of Education submit an application for exemplary board status. So the recommendation is to submit an application.
Do I have a motion to submit that application?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm not sure we can be an exemplary board without Steve here.
Well, there's a second way. No, we'll go there. No. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Fantastic. Another one of the requirements of being an exemplary board is to officially adopt the governance team's norms and protocols. You'll remember that we established these at our whole board training, and then we visited them at our last whole board training, but we do need you to take formal action to adopt these as presented. So our recommendation is to approve the Greene County Board of Education's governance team norms and protocols as previously discussed and as attached.
Motion to adopt the governance team norms and protocols as discussed.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Our next action agenda, you'll remember at our last board meeting, we had a presentation by some of our Schools USA and other folks. During that, the National Leadership Conference for Ms. Kelly Guerrero Mercado came up, and we expressed an intent to support her ability to go on this trip. So this is, the recommendation is for us to approve the overnight out-of-state field trip request for one Greene County student and an advisor to attend the FCCLA State Leadership Conference scheduled for July 6th through the 10th. This does include a funding amount that we will provide to pay for travel and meals for the advisor, and also travel and housing, the hotel room for the student. So his recommendation is to approve the overnight trip to FCCLA National Leadership Conference.
Do I have a motion to approve the overnight trip to the junior grader club? No, that's not the same.
FCCLA.
So moved.
Second?
I second the motion.
Any discussion? Do you have any idea what this number will be? I'm not saying I don't know.
About $2,500 is the estimate. The one thing, and that's listed in here as well, but one of the things that we are continuing to explore, it might be a little bit higher. Some consternation that we have one chaperone and one student attending, and trying to figure out if we can have a parent who can attend and what their situation is, but we don't want to put our staff member in a situation that would be uncomfortable. So that's the only thing that we might consider is an additional cost. If the family can't afford it for themselves, we still think it's a great opportunity, and we could cover the cost of the airline ticket. We're already covering the cost of the hotel room, so that would not be an additional expense.
Any other discussion, questions?
I mean, I think that would be strong preferred dynamic.
Yes.
I agree.
Anything else? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Thank you. Our next agenda item is approval of Carson Middle School's Junior Beta Club trip to Savannah, Georgia and Myrtle Beach. Appreciate the advanced planning, as the trip is not until December. That might be because we're gonna do a little fundraising for this. But the recommendation is to approve going to the Georgia Junior Beta Club Convention.
Entertain a motion to approve the field trip to the Junior Beta Club Convention in Savannah. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously.
Since Steve's not here, I nominate him to make a significant contribution.
Yeah.
Wait, let me record it.
We got it on YouTube, so we're good. Our next agenda item is the board's approval of the Archway Partnership MOU. As the board is aware, we have been in discussions with the county commissioners, with the city of Greensboro, and a number of other municipal entities about the future of Greene County, what a long-term plan would look like, as long-term as 10 years, and the role that the school district would play in making sure that Greene County is a phenomenal place to live, to learn, and to thrive. And the Archway Partnership is an agreement that would allow us to do that. The MOU is asking for us to participate actively in the Archway Partnership as we move forward, and also includes initial investment of $30,000 from the school board. That matches the investment of the county commissioners to reach the $70,000 that Archway requires for them to come into a community. It's $70,000, and the city of Greensboro is paying the other $10,000. Both the county commissioners and the city have already approved the partnership in their meetings earlier this month. This is an exciting opportunity to have a third party come and be a facilitator of the work that we would do to make this dream happen for what Greene County looks like. And I believe that the school district has a particular interest in making sure this happens, and that's why we would make this significant investment, because we can be, we serve all communities in Greene County. And so we can be an impartial space that serves all communities and make sure that this happens. So we believe this is a positive move forward for us, for both the county as well as for the school board. And so the recommendation will be to approve the MOU with the Archway Partnership.
Entertain a motion to approve the MOU for the Archway project.
So moved.
Second motion.
Okay, any discussion? I would just say that in my 17, 18 years, I don't know how long I've been here, I think we've talked about something like this happening for 17 years, being divorced together, begin to put the minds together, and so I'm excited about the potential for this, and I'm excited that having UGA and that group that has already successfully moved this forward in other communities, that everyone can have success here in Greene County also. So it's all on record. Okay, no other? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's unanimous.
Our next recommendation is to approve the agreement with ESS Southeast LLC to provide the district of paraprofessionals. As you are aware, we have contracted with ESS to pilot substitutes and filling our substitutes over the course of the spring. We have had a very successful relationship with ESS this spring. There have been a handful of spaces where we had a little bit of things to iron out, and they were very responsive. There has been some shift for our substitutes to get used to the process that ESS has around the use of technology. Many of our substitutes were used to getting a phone call and having a conversation moving forward. ESS uses some technology. We believe that we've worked through that. This is to help us to find qualified paraprofessionals as we move forward. What we'll do is to find permanent parapros who will be headhunted and found and then employees of ESS and working for us as contracted employees. This will be for new paraprofessionals as we move forward, and an option for any of our current paraprofessionals who are interested to move to ESS to be able to do that. There are some significant cost savings for us as a board as far as benefits go, and other savings with salary. It also allows a little bit more flexibility for our parapros. They get paid once a week instead of once a month. They have access to some different benefits than what we currently offer. So we think there's an upside for us, and also for our parapros. Again, this will be for us moving forward with future parapro hires, and anyone who's currently a parapro will have an opportunity to make that choice or to stay grandfathered until they finish their career.
I entertain a motion to recommend the agreement of ESS Southeast to help us with our finding paraprofessionals. Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
See it on the screen?
Yes, so once the parapros, go under ESS, they're no longer a Greene County staff.
That's correct. They would be employees of ESS.
They're no
say it saves us some money.
It does.
How does ESS, how do they function? What causes them to do this?
So they have a broader network than we do, and so they have some scale that they're able to do that allows them to cut costs that we can't. So that's one way in which they do that. Their benefits packages are comparable to ours. It's not TRS, but it is comparable. But because they have a broader, they serve over 80 districts, I believe, in the state of Georgia, so it allows them to have a little bit broader reach as they move forward with that. The other thing is, as we have the parapros as a part of this, it begins to make it so that our substitute costs actually become defrayed as well. And so we get additional savings from that space as well. But really ESS works largely through the ability to scale things that we can't, is how they're able to find the savings.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
You mentioned, you said that the current parapros do not have to
That's
go
correct.
into this, they can stay on
That's correct.
as they are, so it's not gonna affect those.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. Yes. Good, let me know. Can I go back?
Sure, thank you. Yes, please.
Could we still, are we denied the ability to hire our professional that would come in and be part of our staff? If they came in, they wanted to. Once we go with this.
Dr. Rose? I don't speak out of turn.
That's just, interesting. Since you said there's retirement issues and things, maybe I just wondered if there was still a.
Pardon me, Mr. Superintendent, board members, no, we still have that opportunity. The only thing is we cannot partner with another agency. They have to be our sole staffing agency, but we can certainly continue to hire our own folks if we choose to.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Yep, agenda item number 8, we have been bringing a number of different surplus items to you. This recommendation is to surplus the equipment racks and the installed equipment in the high school media center. We have some old equipment, like an old phone system, some coax cable TV, an old intercom system. There's some pictures there if you'd like to participate in the surplus. If anyone wants some old racks or things like that, please, we will offer them at a very, very good price. But this is to put them on the surplus.
Entertain a motion to, put additional, equipment on the surplus list.
A motion.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Unanimous.
At the board's discretion, my recommendation for the next 3 is to take them as one item, because they are putting them on the table for comment and review for 30 days. And so just to bring your attention to them, the first one is we have been engaged in a revision of our code of conduct, particularly for our secondary schools. We will be conducting a review of our elementary school code of conduct, but we're not ready to do that yet, but we are ready for our secondary code of conduct. This is a new action for Greene County Schools to ask for the community to provide input on the code of conduct before we adopt it. Also, a new move for us to have the board adopt the code of conduct officially instead of it being part of regulation. But we believe very deeply that if we are going to ensure that students are engaged in school in the way that we all believe that they should be, which has been very well articulated by our portrait of the graduate, then appropriate consequences and the actions that we take should be decided upon by the community, at least from the onset in the code of conduct. So we're putting this out for 30 days for the community to provide feedback on, also for the board obviously to provide feedback on, and then we would bring it in June for approval as our code of conduct moving forward. One thing I will highlight in the code of conduct as you read through it, our current code of conduct does not delineate particular progressive disciplinary actions. It says that we will engage in disciplinary action that is progressive, meaning if you get in trouble more than one time, then the discipline increases. If you're skipping class one day, it might be 1 day of ISS. A progressive model would mean the second time you skip, it goes to 3 days of ISS, et cetera, et cetera. That is currently suggested in our code of conduct that we have and we're operating under. This code of conduct is a little more prescriptive. in an attempt to make sure that both parents and families know what to expect as their students are engaged in any kind of misbehavior, and also to guide our administrators to make sure that we have consistency as well. So as you read through this, and we encourage everyone to do so, that's the one thing that you might notice that is significantly different. It still leaves discretion for our administrators to consider whatever context or other factors might be in place for any single offense, but it does do a better job of helping to articulate what the misbehavior would be and what the associated offense would be. That would make sense as we go forward. The other thing that it does, and this is of particular interest to me, is it does say there is a limit to the amount of opportunity students have to disrupt the learning environment for other students. That it is not acceptable for one child to make it so that other kids can't learn repeatedly. And so this puts some teeth into a code that allows us to be able to move forward. It means we will continue the education for that student, but they won't have the opportunity to disrupt the environment for every child. And so I think it's a clear way for us to do that as we move forward. We would ask the community to give us input on what that looks like as we move forward.
On this one?
Yes.
We'll go to the next one.
Yeah.
More philosophical question.
Right.
How far and how deep we plan on getting into these sort of things, and these sort of issues as a board? And as an example, athletic eligibility.
Correct. So some of those are articulated in the code of conduct. So we have some expectations around athletic eligibility that are listed in there as you go through that. And so we would be open to anyone from the community offering the input on the front end of what we should have there. So one of the things that might come up is if an athlete is, if on Friday afternoon when we run grades, they are failing any classes, we could write into it that they would not be allowed to play on Friday night. Or however we would do that for whatever season the sport was. We would accept anyone's comments on that to add that to it, and we would consider it as part of the code of conduct.
Question was, how deep are we going into this as a board?
So the board would approve.
This is stretching.
Yes, so the board's responsibility would be to adopt the code of conduct. It would be my responsibility and staff's responsibility to enforce it. The opportunity for the board to have input on what happens either is through a hearing appeal or through the code of conduct at this point in time. But any individual incident or any enforcement of that would be up to me.
And I would also recommend that the board read some of these very closely, because I think some of the situations we dealt with in the past year, we felt that they were less than clear. So I would hope the board would take some of these very seriously. We would tighten that.
Will we get a copy of the current?
I can provide that to you, absolutely. It is currently available online. I know we won't make you go there, but for the community who wants to do that, if you go to your current student handbooks, which are posted online, the code of conduct is in the current student handbooks. And there are great little pictures of the handbooks online where your school system is, and you can go and find it in there. But will be provided to you directly, so you can do a comparison.
Okay. Any more discussion on this one?
I got a question on this one. Are we doing any type of community meetings or discussions on this particular thing, or just gonna be put out for?
So we haven't had,
accessibility?
we don't currently have a plan to be able to do that. I have asked the district parent advisory council that I meet with monthly. This has been a topic of discussion, and they've reviewed this in 2 of our meetings. So we've done it with that, and also with our teacher advisory council that meets with me. They also line by line went through it and provided some input as well. So those 2 community groups that are meeting with me regularly have provided input, but the opportunity at this moment in time is for us to be able to say this is out there for consideration between now and the next board meeting. It is somewhat time sensitive if we're going to adopt it, because the next school year is going to start pretty soon. But I would be happy to host an opportunity for the community to come in early June and talk about it if they'd like to.
Just curious.
Yep.
Did your student advisory?
Student advisory also looked at it? They did, yes. Yeah, thank you for adding them. Yeah, they were a part of it as well. And I will tell you, I mean, for what it's worth, the parent advisory council suggested that we needed to be more strict in what our consequences were as we move forward. That was the pretty clear message that they sent to us.
In your student advisory council?
Actually, they also had similar suggestions. Particularly the idea of one student disrupting the entire classroom. That was one of the real big concerns of the student advisory council was we'd rather not have to listen to that if we could.
Anyone else? but I think sometimes some of these things are written in athletes or performers get the brunt, and it never gets down to students, a student, day-to-day student. So I would suggest that we look at something that I've done over the last 35 years, called social probation. So some of these things that if they have acts that are inappropriate for the social setting, then they can be not allowed to be any part of the school activity, foster, and accept in their just something that also make sure that this has the opportunity to invite everybody, not just athletes or. Okay?
Any other questions? Our second, policy, as you know, we've been doing a policy update, pretty regularly here to both update, modernize, and make sure that we're in compliance with state law. This policy, we're putting this recommended, is to place the proposed revisions to policy GARH, employee leave and absence on the table. Currently, this cleans up, the language around 3 days versus 5 days of, personal leave that was recently passed into law. For clarity's sake, it doesn't give additional personal days. It just says that where currently sick day leave days could be used as personal leave, it doesn't provide additional personal leave days. So teachers and staff still earn the same amount of leave, they can just use it for personal or sick, where before this bill was passed, they were limited to 3 days, now they can have access to 5 days. That's out there for review. Any questions on that? That's bringing this into compliance. And then, the last one, policy GCDAG, you heard our presentation about Sandy Hook Promise. Connected to that bill, there was some language that we need to update to make sure that this is in compliance with state law. So this is to make sure that we have our voting policy in compliance with state law. So our recommendation is for these 3 items to be placed on the table for public comment and review. And we would encourage the public to go to our website and offer their commentary through the links that are available there for any of these 3 items. Also, please email me or anyone at the district office, and we'll be happy to do that. Make a phone call, and we'll listen to all the different comments.
I have a motion to approve moving these to the 30 days of review, these 3 policies.
I make a motion to move items 19 and 11 forward to the 30-day table for 30 days comment review.
Second,
Okay.
discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Right?
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you. We have no public comments that have registered on site. And so we do have a need to go into an executive session for the purposes of personnel, land, and legal.
Well, we got a motion, good, second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are back in open session.
It is the recommendation, or my recommendation is the board approve personnel items as discussed in the executive session.
I have a motion to approve personnel items as discussed in executive session.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Unanimous.
Thank you. Before we get to our final item, which is adjournment, I would like to take a moment to proudly announce a new leadership team at Greene County High School and at the Greene College and Career Academy. And I would like to say thank you to our two new leaders who are sort of new leaders, who are here in the audience with us this evening. And thank you so much for being here. Mariana Stoka Harrison will serve as the next Chief Executive Officer of the Greene County College and Career Academy. And here in the back, Ms. Carrie Flores will serve as the next principal of Greene County High School. Ms. Stoka Harrison has more than 21 years of experience in education, workforce development, and instructional leadership, and has played a central role in the growth and success of our College and Career Academy here in Greene County. She currently serves as CTA Director and has served as an Assistant Principal at Greene County High, Site Director for Foothills Education, Work-Based Learning Coordinator, and many, many other unnamed jobs and duties and responsibilities. In many ways, she has been part of Greene College Career Academy's story from the very beginning, helping to lead planning, partnerships, and program development that launched the Academy. Under her leadership, in conjunction with the board, the College and Career Academy was named College and Career Academy of the Year, and she played a large role, not in just the programming, but also in the actual application itself. So we're looking for a whole lot more of that. Additionally, just so that you know, she was recently recognized as statewide the GACI Special Populations Administrator of the Year for her outstanding leadership. So we know we have a great one, and we are excited to have her moving into the CD role, and we're very excited about that. We are excited also to announce a partnership of leadership for the facility in a way that we really haven't had the opportunity to start with two brand new leaders in the space, and so very excited about Ms. Flores and Ms. Stoka Harrison working jointly to lead that building and also to lead the secondary and post-secondary options that we provide students across Greene County. Ms. Flores is coming to us most recently from Richmond County, but she's a Greene County alum, so to speak, not from the high school, but from the ranks of teaching here in Greene County. She currently serves as assistant principal at Butler High School in Richmond County and has served as an assistant principal at Glen Hills Middle School. She began teaching right here in Greene County at Carson Middle School, leading some RTI efforts, serving as our gifted coordinator, and having phenomenal student performance results in mathematics. And so it's exciting to have a mathematical mind helping to lead our school as we go forward. She has a strong reputation for creating good structures, systems that support students and staff deeply, and has done all the jobs that a good high school AP should do, from discipline to testing to attendance to special education supports and beyond. Also, she brings a bent towards professional learning, having served as a professional learning facilitator in Richmond County. So not only can she lead all of our initiatives, she can also help our teachers think deeply about what they're doing with their practice in the classroom. So this is a win-win situation for us, for our kids, and for the staff at Greene County High School and Greene County College and Career Academy. So we are very excited. Congratulations, Ms. Stoka Harrison and Ms. Flores. We are excited about the future opportunities that we have. With that, there is no other business before the board.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn? So moved. Second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There it is.